It's your math teacher! Surprise! Yay! Excitement! Woo! Hey, so I'm not sure exactly how I set this up because I haven't thought that far in the future yet. I'll figure that out later. So I don't know if what you know is happening or what you don't know is happening, but here's my idea. I want to go back and help you kind of practice some more factoring stuff because I know that that's something that we've been really kind of struggling with or something that we just could use more practice on. And so instead of doing it all as one big group with me in the front where you don't listen to me and stuff, or maybe you do listen to me. I shouldn't be mean. I don't even know who you are because I'm just making this video. Anyways, instead of doing that, I was just going to do it like this instead and just see if it works. And maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, but here we go. So hopefully you've got this and you're looking at it. I'm just going to go over like 2 of these problems real quick, and then I'll leave you alone to do what you need to do. And I promise I won't talk at you the whole time because that would be weird because I'm a video. So all this is asking us to do is to factor, and all of these up at the top are all done by double bubble. So that's the whole idea of what can we multiply to get one thing and add to be the other, right? So let's look at number 1. Number 1 says x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we're just trying to factor that. Now, these have different variables on them. You'll see like an a or an m or a y or an x. Doesn't matter. The letters don't matter. They could all be x's, all be t's. Doesn't matter. So just make sure that you use whatever letter is there. But for this one, we have an x. So we're going to start out by setting up my double bubble, meaning 2 sets of parentheses. And I'll put an x in the front of both of those. Now, what you're trying to do is figure out what 2 numbers multiply to be this 6 and add to be the 5, right? We're multiplying to be the c value that's at the end and adding to be the b value that's at the middle. And so the best way to do this, and you probably already know the answer, you probably wrote it down because you're so smart. Yay, good for you. But just so you're aware, on the ones that might be even more difficult, the best way to do it is to start by thinking about what can I multiply to be whatever that c value is. Because there's only a couple of options there. Then we'll worry about the middle part. So we're trying to figure out what can I multiply to be 6. Some of you have a factoring chart that you can use for this. If you don't, that's fine because you know what you can multiply to get 6, right? 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. That's like your 2 options. And so your thought process now becomes which of these 2 can I add to be 5, the one that's in the middle. And obviously that would be 2 and 3. 2 plus 3 is 5, 2 times 3 is 6, so that's the one I'm going to go with. Doesn't matter what order I put them in. Plus 2, plus 3. You could have done plus 3, plus 2. It's all good. That's all you have to do. Now, I do want to mention one thing that I think may be tripping some people up, and that's what do you do if you have like a negative value? So hopefully you already got that down because I'm about to erase it in 3, 2, okay. If you look at like number 11, let's make it a little bit bigger for us. So on number 11, it says x squared plus 3x minus 70. Notice how that c value in this case is now negative. All right, it's like a minus c value. So our thought process is basically the same, where we're thinking about what can I multiply to be 70. And technically, we're still thinking what can I add to be 3. But since we are multiplying to get a negative number, that means our signs are going to have to be different. One will be plus, and one's going to have to be minus. So if we have one of our numbers is plus and one of our numbers is minus, even if we add those, like if you add a negative number, it's technically the same as subtracting. So the way that I usually present this and the way that I usually think about it, even myself, is I always think what can I multiply to get 70, and then I look in front of that 70. If that's a plus, like the ones that we just did, or most of the ones at the top of the sheet, then I'm thinking, what can I add to get the thing in the middle? But if that number is a minus, now I'm thinking not necessarily which ones can I add, but which ones can I subtract? Because if I'm adding a negative, it's the same as subtracting. So I'm still going to write out my factors of 70. 1 and 70, 7 and 10. I guess there can also be 5 and, I don't even know, was it 18 maybe? 74, 14. Math is so hard. Yeah, 5 times 14. So if I do that, what that's going to let me do is to look at my problems and think not necessarily which ones can I add to be 3, but which ones can I subtract that's going to give me 3. Capiche? Do you know which one it is? Of course you do. It's 10 and 3, or it's 10 and 7. 10 and 7, which gives me 3. Now just be careful on this. In this case, it's going to be a positive 10 and a minus 7 because we need to subtract them to get a positive 3. So I know I typically say the order doesn't matter, and that's kind of true. Like the order of my parentheses doesn't matter. But the number that's positive versus the number that we make negative does matter. Because a positive 10 minus 7 is positive 3. That's going to work. If I were to flip those and make it a positive 7 minus 10, that gives me negative 3. That's not going to work. So I want to leave it like that. Just be careful. And it's always a good idea to check it. And I mean like really quickly just check it. Just ask yourself, positive 10 minus 7. Is that positive 3? Yeah, then you're good. So I just wanted to make that, I don't know, maybe I spent too much time talking about this. I don't know. But I just wanted to mention what to do if it's a negative number right there, because now we're really thinking like which ones can I subtract, not necessarily which ones can I add. And that can get a little bit tricky. So anyways, that's how you do those. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I set you free is here on the bottom, and it actually tells you, it gives you a really good hint. Remember, you should always look for a GCF first. You should always look for a greatest common factor first. So for, I think, all of these, I haven't actually done them, but I'm pretty sure by looking at them that they're all going to follow the same pattern, where we're going to first need to remove a greatest common factor, and then we'll do our double bubble. So maybe you remember doing some problems like this. We'll look at number 23. The rest of them are the same as that. Number 23 says 3y squared plus 24y plus 48. So again, it's not an x, it's a y. I don't care. That's the thing we're going to use. But before we even start doing our double bubble, look for a greatest common factor. You'll notice that even though they don't all have a y, they do all have numbers that are divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8, and 48 divided by 3 is something, 16, I hope. So if we go through and divide all of these things by 3, that means 3 is my greatest common factor. So I can put a 3 in the front. Let me get my marker out real quick. Because that's my greatest common factor. And then in the inside, I'm going to put what's left when I remove a 3 from each of these pieces. And by remove, I really mean divide. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, so it's like an invisible 1. We'll just leave the y squared. 24 divided by 3 is 8, so it's an 8y. And 48 divided by 3 is something that I just said earlier, 16. Math, it's hard. I have to do it in my head. Ugh. So there we go. So 48 divided by 3, do it in your calculator, it should be 16. So what we've done here is we removed that 3, but look at what's left on the inside of my parentheses. Doesn't that look like a trinomial, right? With nothing in front of the x squared, now that we got that 3 out of the way? Or y squared, I guess, in this case. Yeah, so that means we can double bubble it. So we're going to leave the 3 in the front. Just leave it there. Don't worry about it. We've already done everything we need to do. And then we're going to set up my double bubble. What multiplies to be 16 and adds to be 8? Oh, yeah, that's right. 4 and 4. Y plus 4. Y plus 4. You just factored it. So the ones on the bottom, you're going to have to factor twice. You have to remove that GCF. If they all have a variable, remove that variable. If they all have a number that you can divide by, remove that. Or maybe they may have both. I think number 24, it will have a number and a variable that you have to bring out to the front. And then when you put what's left, you'll notice, oh, it's a beautiful, nice little trinomial. I can factor that. No problem with your double bubble. And then you just leave all those parts lined up. So you'll have your GCF in the front. In this case, it was a 3. And then your 2 double bubbles beside it. And that's all you have to do. Factoring. It's awesome. Good luck. finish this worksheet, I think, is probably what you're supposed to do. Have fun. Peace.